What's up guys, peace and blessings to you all out there. My name is Emkwan, I'm a YouTuber based in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and this is my success stories for UKVibe.TV. I'll be talking about how I started off on YouTube, my move to the Middle East, and what I'm doing now with brands like Bentley, Mercedes, BlackBerry and others, so stay tuned. Emkwan. It's a nickname, it's not my real name. My real name is Khan, and essentially I'm a YouTuber, digital social media influencer, and also work as a consultant as well. So I'm actually a Leicester boy, born and raised for the majority of my life. I did go away, I got sent away rather, because of misbehavior and stuff, to Pakistan for a year. I went to military school there. But majority of the time has been here in Leicester. And then obviously I've been in the Middle East for the last 3-4 years. You know, when I was younger, I really didn't have like a key thing. You know, you go through the stages, you want to be an astronaut, you want to be a billionaire, you want to be this, that, the other. But I don't think there wasn't one particular thing that I wanted to be. My mom and dad actually used to tell me that I kind of switch all the time. And I think that was down to the fact that really, I knew that I wanted to be like creative and I wanted to be in something art-based, but the family background that I came from, my dad's a doctor, my mom's like an education teacher, so it was difficult to go into creative in that side, so I really didn't have something that was concrete at the time. My first paid job was actually in a library. That was my first paid job, and it was kind of in a research library in Markfield, and then I ended up doing just like loads of odd jobs. My father runs a couple of clinics as well, so I remember spending a lot of time there, working with marketing, working with like just, you know, leaflet design, graphic design, that sort of stuff. So I think a lot of that gave experience. Probably working at my dad's business helped me a great deal. The Emkwan brand, like back in I think 2012, I keep forgetting, but a couple of years ago, I was at uni, my final year at uni, and there were two things that happened. One was that I'd set up a small manufacturing like health products company, which was in collaboration with my dad. We got money off the Prince's Trust to set that up. And if any of you have experience with the Prince's Trust, you know that you get some money, but it's not enough money to really launch completely. And the major issue I had at that time was around marketing. So what ended up happening was that at that time, I think Twitter was just like kind of getting in there new. Facebook had already been established and stuff. And I spoke to my dad and there were some other shareholders about trying to use social media to try and bridge that gap between, you know, marketing and not having the funds for marketing. So that's how it started off. And I remember my dad and some of the other guys, at that time, YouTube, Facebook, all of the social media was associated with time wasting. So my dad said, look, you're not going to use our brand name to do that. What I want you to do is you do it by yourself. He kind of sent me on a wild goose chase. So if you can show that it works, then we'll talk about it. So at the time I was like heavily into technology, phones and other stuff. I was in London, staying in like shared accommodation. Nobody was willing to fork out money for the TV license, so we had no TV. So everyone was on their laptops, and that's when I got involved with YouTube the first time. Started watching videos, and then there was a video on, there was a tech video related to BlackBerry, and I used the BlackBerry at that time, and I watched it, and I thought to myself, this is something that I could do. So that's how I set up the YouTube channel. And I remember putting up my first video, which was about how to get BBC iPlayer on your BlackBerry. Now at the time, you needed software to kind of adjust everything because the size of the screens were different for all the models. But somebody found a hack on one of the forums that I basically used, put it up onto YouTube, made a video. It was a 3-part video, left it, went on holiday, I think, and then I come back and I get a phone call from BlackBerry UK, and they said, we like your video, we want to use it at a developer conference. So I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. That time I had no idea about money and charging and stuff like that. And then a week after that, they called me and they said, we want to give you a BlackBerry phone. You have to imagine that BlackBerry at that time was, there was no iPhone. So you had a BlackBerry that was like a big deal, man's made it, you know what I mean? So you end up with, they gave me a BlackBerry phone, and then from there, that's where it progressed really. Then I realized I can make more videos, work on forums and things like that. And that's really how it started off. That's how the Emkwan brand started off. One of the other things was that, when I started making YouTube videos, really quickly I realized that everybody else is making YouTube videos related to tech. So I needed to find some way of sticking out from everybody else. And one of the weird things that happened was that on the comment section, I didn't show my face. I'd show my hands and stuff, but I wouldn't show my face. And a lot of people kept posting comments on, what is this guy? Is he black, white, Asian? Is he Pakistani? Is he what? How come you don't show your face? And there was somebody that I knew who said to me, why don't you play with that and kind of like wear a mask? So I started wearing a mask essentially. So I started wearing a mask, and that just proliferated. Like loads of people wanted to know who I was, who's the guy behind it, this, that, the other. And I used the word Emkwan, which was a nickname. Some Leicester boys, when I used to be at college, we used to have like 3-4 people with the same name as me. So we kind of get into problems with like attendance and getting into trouble because the other Mohsen had done something wrong. So one of my friends said to me, look, come up with a nickname. Back then we had Wu-Tang Clan, Raekwon. So it was my initials MK, and that sounded a bit girly. So we kind of twisted it up with Emkwan, and that's how the brand Emkwan started up. And that was perfect for the online, because when I Googled it, nobody had it. There was no mquan.com, there was no Emkwan on social media, so I stuck to that and used it. And that's really how the brand kind of proliferated. Yeah. So this is complicated, and I suppose this is a good example of where branding, how branding works. So, I used to wear that mask, and there were a couple of events that I was invited to, and there was one event where I did go and wear the mask, and that was so awkward. Like people were like, look, we respect that and everything, but there were CEOs of BlackBerry there, and they just felt completely freaked out. And I realized that that was a limitation of wearing the mask. So what ended up happening was I got to a stage where the Emkwan channel, original channel with the whole mask thing going on, it wasn't the vibe that I wanted to put up. I got to a stage where I needed to up the game with brands and kind of deal with them on a more professional level. So a couple of people said to me, look, you're not going to go far if you keep this thing up. So it was at that point that I decided to just drop that channel, start afresh. And in order to start afresh, the game plan for that channel was that I wanted to get more content creators on board. I wanted to bring other people on board. I wanted it to make it like a network essentially. So that's why we I think it was 2 months, we wanted a unique name. Like Emkwan was just a sick name. It was a really good name. Everybody, remembers it, and everybody kind of it struck a chord with people. So we were trying to come up with a name, and Avora was the name that we came up with. Believe it or not, it means nothing. It just sounds cool, and it's got that kind of almost spacey kind of feel to it, spacey vibe. So we came up with Avora. But essentially what's happened from there is the plan to make it a bigger network hasn't really worked. In hindsight, what I should have done was I should have stuck with that channel or launched a new channel and just been a bit more professional with it. Because since then, everybody, particularly in the Middle East, they know Emkwan, they know me, but they're not really familiar with Avora. So as a result, over the last, I think 2-3 months, we've decided just to drop Avora, rebrand it now to EmkwanReviews, which is the tech channel, the car channel, the lifestyle channel, and EmkwanVlogs, which is going to be, the daily video diary vlogs and things. So that's how the brand's kind of morphed and changed. But I think it's important because one of my friends said to me, you failed with Avora, and I was like, actually, it's not failure. It's just a mistake, or not even a mistake. It's sometimes you realize that when you brand something, it's right for that point in time, but down the line, you've got to change, you've got to adapt. The content is the same, but it's just about adapting it. And I know like from, who knows, a year or 2 years from now, we'll kind of adapt it and change it again in some way. So it's just part and parcel of the way it is online. So EmkwanVlogs is really to do with video diaries, and it started off because back in 2000 and I can't remember. I think 2012 we moved to the UAE. It's about 3-4 years, and what ended up happening was people that watched the tech channel wanted to see life outside of tech, So a couple of subscribers said to me that why don't you set up a vlog channel? And when I set it up, I started enjoying it more than the tech, because it just gives you a lot of freedom to talk about and do whatever you want. So we set up the vlog channel essentially to be like a separate channel that dealt with life outside of my main channel. But also it's kind of worked out perfectly because it's given us that platform to talk about living as expats, British expats in another country. So dealing with just dealing with the whole move, setting up from new, dealing with just like life outside, dealing with our family, all those questions that people want to know about moving to another country. So it's worked out really well. And the vlog channel now, in terms of engagement and stuff, is probably higher than the main channel. The vlog channel is the one that, in terms of syndication and, the brand itself is much more popular, and particularly more popular in the Middle East, like in the UAE, in Saudi, Qatar, Bahrain. People veer more towards that channel than they do to my main channel. So, one of the things that I've spoken to about brands and organizations about in the past, social media. A lot of people think that when they get on social media, it's gonna transform their business or their brand or their whatever they're doing, right? But like, think of social media as like a loudspeaker. Like if you speak through that loudspeaker, you're just going to get the message out further, but the message isn't going to be any more clearer. So what's important is when a brand or an organization or anybody gets on social media, they've got to have a purpose for that. And that's really to do with your marketing. That's to do with going back to looking at what you're doing in terms of marketing. So if you're clear about what message you're trying to put out, the loudspeaker, aka social media, will help to proliferate that. And the thing is that the internet is so full of scattered information, so full of like randomness, that actually when you're clear on social media, people gravitate towards that. Look at the brands, the most successful brands, people like Apple, or organizations like Apple, Coca-Cola, Nike. One of the things they do really well is that they have all these sub-campaigns, but the end clear message is very clear. You can understand that, you can gravitate towards that. So I think social media, that's the first thing for brands to understand, is that you've got to have a clear message and then use social media to put it out there, and people will gravitate towards that. The other thing is, like, social media is changing a great deal. It's turning from information to a narrative, like a story. And that's why vloggers at the moment, this is like the age of vloggers, because one of the things is they tell a story. So if you watch like a video of ours, like one of the vlogs, like you get sucked into our life. Right now I can be vlogging, this interview, and you'll want to know what it's for, what it's about. You might follow that up with the next vlog. You might follow that up with a previous vlog. You might go back a few vlogs, after that. So it's about building up a narrative, and I think brands and companies, they need to do that as well. That instead of like just putting information out there and saying, look, we're going to decorate a place and this is the new color scheme, put it out there and say, look, here are 2-3 options that we have. What do you guys think? That way you interact with people. It's social at the end of the day, so you get an interaction back, but also you build up a narrative so that when somebody sees that, they can then see the after results and the previous results. It's like a story. And I think that's important for social media. And you can see that with Snapchat. Snapchat, I remember when one of my students told me I needed to get on Snapchat. And I was like, look, Snapchat is kind of associated with kiddies, right? I don't want to get on that kind of platform. I stick with that, Twitter, Instagram, that's enough for me. But then I bumped into someone that works for a think tank in the Middle East, and they told me that Snapchat like some of the ratings on Snapchat in terms of engagement with the demographics that I'm after, which is a younger demographic, is insane. And actually, since I've started on Snapchat, I'm amazed at how good a platform it is. Because one of the ways that the guy that founded Snapchat, one of the things that he wanted to do was, he wanted to do it so that it's a narrative story. So like, for example, if you watch someone's Snapchat, it doesn't start at the end, it starts at the beginning. If you look at Instagram, if you go on Emkwan on Instagram, you find my latest video, my latest picture or Insta video, and then you have to work backwards. But on Snapchat, it's the other way around. So that's an important way, and that's to do with narrative, essentially, storytelling. The final thing is make it short and snappy, and video is key. All of the major trends, Social Bakers is a really important social media network and platform that kind of projects things in the future, and they've been right about a lot of things. But one of the things they're talking about now is the move towards video. Like everything you see now on the major platforms, Facebook included, is getting into the video realm now, because video is key. So as a brand, as someone on social media, get on as much video as possible, because that's going to help your brand project. Support in Leicester wasn't great. Like it's funny, like since I've been back, since I've been in the UAE, yeah, like a lot of Leicester people are like, oh yeah, this guy's from Leicester, this, that, the other. But when I was starting off and doing my thing, it wasn't great. I remember there were a couple of people that I spoke to, a couple of brands that I wanted to kind of like collaborate with and get help from, and nobody was interested at that point. So I actually got more help from outside of Leicester than I did in Leicester. But having said that, the Phoenix was unbelievable. I think for me, there was a point in which I tried to make YouTube full-time for me, and that was with the help of Phoenix. So when I went to the Phoenix Square, and the management from there, they really saw potential in that, supported me a great deal. There were people there that kind of helped me to understand how I could kind of change that hobby into a business. It didn't work out in the end, but what it did give me is it gave me like a ton load of experience in just like broadcasting and that kind of business of, you know, online media, figuring out how I can balance my hobby, my passion with, you know, the end of the day making money essentially. So I think Phoenix was just you know, critical in that. There were people there, they gave resources, they gave advice, and it was just continuous support throughout. My 9 to 5, why I went out to the UAE was because I got offered a job in basically higher education. It started off as a teaching job in higher education, but it's progressed towards sort of consulting and lead teacher kind of role there. So I work for a vocational college which deals with students from Emirati background, so they're local students. We deal with students that are from the military, from the police background and stuff. So it's kind of very specialized in that area. So that's what my 9 to 5 is. I do get a lot of messages from people that say that they like the positivity aspect of the vlogs, of the videos in general. Particularly the vlogs, because it's just, it gives me an opportunity to try and kind of promote a positive vibe about life. I mean, I think that's important. There's a lot of crap on YouTube, and there's a lot of kind of negativity on YouTube in some shape, way or form. And what I try and do through the vlogs is try and put out some aspect of positivity. And I don't think I'm a funny kind of guy, so I can't make, you know, sketches and pranks. I don't like to kind of do that. But one of the things that I want to do through the vlogs is try and make people feel positive about their life. You know, either inspire people that if they see me doing something or getting something or experiencing something, it'll make them want to do the same. Because it really isn't, it's not, you know, it's not like a hidden society, a secret society that, I mean, you can do it. It's all about working hard, working intelligently, being patient, and kind of just doing it, you know. So those are some of the things that I try and put through the video, the vlogs. Collaboration-wise, you know, one of the things that I'd like to do in the future is perhaps collaborate more with like YouTubers as well. I haven't done that so much, not because, you know, I don't want to, but it's more because of the time and family limitations. Like, there aren't very many YouTubers in the UAE that I can collaborate with. Some YouTubers that I'd love to collaborate with would be people like, you know, Casey Neistat from the US. Like, phenomenal guy. It'd be awesome to collaborate with him. Mr. Ben Brown in London, another talented guy to collaborate with. So yeah. The Ahlan Magazine Award was an award that was given for, they have this thing where it's called the top 100 influencers, and every year they will choose like influencers in certain key categories. So I got an influencer award for social media, digital media in the UAE, and it's essentially to you know, using my influence, the platforms that I built up on social media, to kind of influence people with brands and educate them about brands. So that was one award that we got. And the other award was with Esquire magazine, Man at His Best Award. They run this award where they focus again on different categories. So that award was for digital influencer. And I think that was more to do with my tech related and car related stuff in the UAE on YouTube. Yeah, it's an awesome kind of thing to have. Like I said, like icing on the cake, and makes it gives you that push to do further work and better work, you know, in the future. So the other part of like YouTubing in the Middle East is I do work with a lot of brands on a consultation kind of basis. So I've got to a stage now where PR companies and brands will kind of approach me, even government organizations will approach me and will want help and advice on certain key aspects. So some of the projects that I'm currently working on, we're working with, or we've done some work with one of the Sheikh's offices. This is Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed, who's like the foreign minister of the UAE, on social media and kind of using that to kind of work with giving a positive message and a positive kind of view of Islam online. That's something which is quite hot in the Middle East at the moment. You know, how they can use social media to get a positive message out there, both for their own, you know, social media users, but also for outsiders as well. So that's quite an interesting project, and that's a project that actually I had no idea I'd get involved in, but it has actually some major consequences. Like, you know, if you make a suggestion, this is on a government level that can help impact things. The other thing is working with brands as well. So a good brand to work that I've done work with in the past is BlackBerry. Mercedes is a brand that I'm working with at the moment. So using the skills that I've garnered from social media and through YouTube and helping them to try and put their own sort of marketing sort of campaign into action using social media. That's another big collaboration. And then there's one coming up with a luxury brand car, which I can't name, but it's going to be exciting. It's a top-end luxury brand that I've been working with, and that'll be coming up in the future as well. What inspires me? My own personal goals. Like, I've got goals for everything in terms of like my upbringing. Like, my dad is super strict, but like very strict in a kind of, in hindsight, it's a very good way of being strict. Like, always telling you that you've got to have goals written down, you know, for whatever you do, even if it's being a family guy, you know, you've got to have certain goals for your family time, your work time, your hobby time. So I think that's kind of translated over into this YouTube thing. So I've got very specific goals for everything, for subscribers, for views, for collaboration with brands and things like that. So that helps and keeps me motivated. But the other thing is just doing it, you know. Like, I really enjoy YouTube. Like, I enjoy the whole kind of process of starting off from nothing, creating something at the end of it that, you know, thousands will watch. I mean, that's just insane. And like, when you bump into people, like in the UAE, where we live on an island, and there are, you know, there's like different housing complexes. And there was, I never forget, there was this 9-year-old girl with her 12-year-old sister who kind of bumped into us. And we heard someone shout, we were walking, someone was shouting, Emkwan, Emkwan. And we turned around, and it's just like, that doesn't fit any of our demographics. But they said that they watched the YouTube videos, because the vlog videos, because you know, for them it was kind of inspiring, and it got them to see a different style of somebody that was living on the same island that they were. So I think that's the motivation as well. Like, you know, when you meet subscribers, you meet people that watch your content and then they say that they benefited in some way, that's also a motivation as well. This is probably hard to change, but if I could, I'd try and influence the way people feel about themselves. I think there's a lot of crap that happens when people don't feel good about themselves. They treat others like crap. They treat themselves like crap. They don't live to their potential. And again, there was a period in my life when I was trying to make YouTube, like when I was trying to do my YouTube stuff, where I wasn't being honest with myself, you know. So I think that's hard to change in people, getting them to see that, you know, to live to their full potential. I think once people do that, that can completely change how they are and the circle around them. And like, because a part of my 9 to 5 is also lecturing and teaching. So I can see that with the students as well. Like I try and do that the best that I can with students that I have, especially on a one-to-one kind of basis, is that when you get them to see the potential in themselves and do what they want to do, then actually the other things will just fall into place. The relationships at home, relationships with their friends, family, you know, what they want to do, what they want to achieve in the future, that just slips into place. So it's hard to change it, hard to change people. Thank you guys for watching my UKVibe.TV success story. I hope you enjoyed it. Before I go, you can follow me on social at Emkwan. You can also find me on YouTube. Just search EmkwanReviews and EmkwanTV. And a massive shout out to the guys at UKVibe.TV for filming me, and for Brew, Gelato and Coffee on Granby Street in Leicester for the venue. Awesome place, awesome coffee, awesome ice cream. Must check them out.